WVEC-TV, plan.
Here we go.
This is Jeff McKay, ABC News.
The Guantanamo Bay detention camp was established in 2002 by President George W. Bush to hold illegal enemy combatants following the 9/11 terror attacks. Through the years, at least 780 people from 48 countries were detained there, including the mastermind of the 2000 USS Cole attack. In 2005, photographer Ryan Beard and I traveled to the U.S. Navy base in Cuba to see the prison called Camp Delta for ourselves. This is our Associated Press award-winning series, Gitmo, An Inside Look.
Joint Task Force Guantanamo is a tale of contradictions, not the least of which is the stunning beauty of the tropic island surroundings for the U.S. military terrorist detainee operation. It is located just across the fence from Fidel Castro's communist Cuba.
It's not an easy job to do, but it's getting done.
The job, warehousing more than 500 war on terrorism detainees from 44 different countries. The vast majority of them have been designated not as prisoners of war and protected by the Geneva Convention, but as enemy combatants. That task falls to the 9,000 men and women of the U.S. military based at Gitmo.
How do you keep this place safe?
We pay attention to detail everything that moves around on this base. Anything that's not supposed to be here, we report it right away. You know, anything on outer perimeter of the waters, we take care of that.
There is a sense by people that they're actually contributing to the global war on terrorism, just by being here and doing what they do on a daily basis.
This is Camp X-Ray, you've probably heard of here at Guantanamo. This is the place the United States first brought war on terrorism detainees back in 2002 and 2003. It's obviously very Spartan, very sparse, and very temporary. Far cry from what the prisoners get today at Camp Delta.
Which is actually 5 different camps, said to be state-of-the-art detention facilities. A sixth $30 million camp is now under construction. Each detainee gets a 6 by 8 by 8 foot cell, clothing, bedding, toiletries, and a Koran.
Usually it's pretty comfortable, to say the least, at least for the detainees.
Army Sergeant Major Anthony Mendez is the prison's leading non-commissioned officer and leader of the guards, or as they refer to themselves, troopers. Mendez disputes widespread reports of detainee abuse.
And we do read the papers, and at times it's troubling that folks who have never visited this facility and know of our mission are alleging that we are mistreating these individuals, which is an absolute false. I mean, we treat every detainee with dignity and respect.
Well, everybody looks at, they read the news and they see what's on the media and what's said. However, the troopers know the real truth about what's going on, so they kind of brush it off a little here and there. It's like, eh.
Uncontradicted, though, was testimony presented to Congress this summer about would-be 9/11 hijacker Mohammed al-Qahtani. He was forced to wear a dog leash and do dog tricks, ordered to put a bra and thong on his head, and questioned naked in front of female interrogators. The detainee was told his mother and sister were whores. He was called a homosexual and forced to dance with male interrogators.
Some people, they're not cut out for this.
Deputy Commanding General John Gong acknowledges past mistakes at Guantanamo, but emphasizes he believes they are in the past.
In the 3.5 years' time, we have undergone in excess of 28,000 separate reservations or interrogation, events. Of that 28,000+, I think we could probably identify with maybe one hand those instances that are isolated, that yes, we acknowledge that that was not the proper way to conduct the operation, and it was not what we expected them to do, and we dealt with it. Unequivocally, our guard force is a very professional, disciplined guard force. They know what the standards are. They are highly trained before they even come down here.
Well, it's a challenge. It's one that we're stepping up to the plate and doing very well.
Captain Barney Behrens is talking about the by now notorious hunger strike at Guantanamo. The Center for Constitutional Rights says detainees were protesting inhumane conditions. The United States says it's a ploy straight out of the Al-Qaeda handbook, with 128 detainees refusing food during the time we were there.
Our job is to provide safe and humane medical treatment to them, keep them a healthy detention group out there, and that's just what we're doing.
All but 38 of the 520 or so detainees here at Camp Delta at Guantanamo are classified as enemy combatants, meaning they don't have much in the way of legal rights at all. The U.S. government says that distinction is crucial to the president's ability to wage the war on terror. 4 detainees have been charged with war crimes and could face tribunals here at the Military Commission's office. Each of the rest of the detainees annually receives what's called an administrative review. That's where a panel of 3 U.S. military lieutenant colonels or captains determines whether an individual is still a threat, still has intelligence value, or should be let go. So far, 43 have been ruled eligible for transfer to other countries. 5 were released outright. Navy Captain Pat Salzman of Virginia Beach oversees the program.
I think there's a concern with the rest of the world that we're just holding these people for an indefinite period with no intention of letting them go, and I think that's not the case.
Everybody who knows anything about American law, even if you've ever watched Law and Order, there's rules. There's the way you do things, the way you don't do things. And what's happening in Guantanamo is the way you don't do things.
Amnesty International Advocacy Director for Human Rights and International Justice, Jumana Musa, calls conditions at Guantanamo abhorrent. She calls it a failed experiment. Musa says even if outright abuse isn't taking place today, indefinite detention still amounts to torture.
Should Guantanamo be closed?
Absolutely. I mean, either comply with the law or let everybody go. But the idea that you can create an in-between place where you don't have to comply with any laws and you can use it as a dumping ground for detention is just unacceptable.
At the College of William and Mary Marshall Wythe School of Law, Professor Linda Malone has written briefs for the U.S. District Court in Washington on detainees' status.
There has to be a determination of whether individuals are prisoners of war or can be otherwise categorized. And I do think that's the legal requirement under the Geneva Conventions.
The question of what fundamental human rights and legal rights the detainees at Guantanamo are entitled to has become a question not only for judges in federal courthouses and human rights organizations around the world, but for members of Congress as well, including former prisoner of war Arizona Senator John McCain.
They may be Al-Qaeda, they may be Taliban, they may be the worst people in the world, and I'm sure that some of them are. But there are certain basic rules and international agreements that the United States has agreed to.
McCain's amendment bans the Pentagon from authorizing the use of cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment of anyone in U.S. custody, something Guantanamo leaders insist is no longer the case at their facility.
Granted, there were some few isolated instances where, security guards, guard force, they got to the best of them. And so they were isolated instances where it was disclosed that they did not adhere to our standard operating procedure. And each one of those were addressed, were identified, and those that were severe in terms of violations, they were the guard force or whomever the perpetrator may be, were in fact addressed and punished.
Mike Gooding, 13 News.
Thank you.